Hey guys, are you wondering if baking bread is cheaper than buying bread? I've always wondered. I've been baking bread for a long time and I finally decided to sit down and do the math on it. So if you're interested in that, then keep on watching because I'm going to break it down for you. And then at the end, I'm also going to give you a recipe if you do want to try to make your own bread and you don't have a good recipe. I do. I'm here in Ontario, Canada, and so these prices reflect the prices that are in Canada. I plan to do this as a series because I do make a lot of things from scratch, and so I wanted to share recipes with you, but also tell you if it is cheaper. But obviously, there's other reasons to make ththings from scratch, like you think it tastes better, things like that. For me, bread is the same. Like it tastes the same to me. Like I don't care if I buy it, or make it's whatever. But for now, I'm just giving you the basic standard bread recipe. So I'm going to throw up a screen here that's going to cover my face up and talk about breaking down each ingredient. First, flour from Walmart, whole wheat flour. You can get a 5-pound bag for $8.47. So that works out to 14 loaves of bread for me and 61 cents per loaf. Next is yeast, and I found if you're using those little jars like I show you in the video, then this will not work out to be very much cheaper, if any, cheaper at all. So you really need to buy a bulk yeast, which I found at Amazon. I know they have them at Costco, and it's that Red Star brand. This works out for me to 227 loaves of bread, so it works out to 6 cents per loaf for yeast. Next is salt, and I got that at Walmart. I don't think it really matters where you get it if you buy $2 salt, whatever, because it works out to less than a cent per loaf. It gets you 250 loaves if you buy the one that I mentioned from Walmart for 77 cents. So next is honey, and if you get the one from Walmart for $7.97, it's 1 kilogram. That works out to 16 loaves of bread, and that works out to 50 cents per loaf. Next is wheat gluten. You can get a 4-pound bag for $17.99, and this will do 201 loaves for me, and it works out to 9 cents a loaf. The next thing is water, which is free, and then the last thing is oil. I just use the cheapest oil, so vegetable oil, and that you can get that at, again, Walmart for $4.97 for a 3-liter container, and that will do 115 loaves for me, and that works out to 4 cents a loaf. So it works out to $1.31 per loaf, which is comparable to the $1.64 loaf that you would get from the grocery store. Now, you're saving what there? You're saving 33 cents. So if we do the math on that, and we think about, okay, it's just 33 cents. Like that's nothing. But really, by the way, I saw if I could get the same amount of slices from the bread that I make compared to the bread that I buy at the store. I bought a loaf of bread from the store just to compare it, and I can get the same amount of slices, but I do know that the bread I make is denser, and so it's more comparable to like a Dempster's bread or a one of those like really heartier breads. So it's really more of comparable to like a $2 loaf. But like I said, if you're just trying to go and do it only for budget purposes, it is still worth it. And so say you're making, for us, I make about 2 loaves of bread a week. So you're saving $31 a year, which again is just in one thing that you're doing. So $31 a year, if you're making bread from scratch and then you're making other things from scratch, I mean, you can save a lot of money making things from scratch. But stay tuned for my next video or the future upcoming videos of things from scratch, because I found that I was actually losing a lot of money making something from scratch that's coming up. So I'm about to show you my recipe for bread. I'll show you how I make it, and I don't usually measure, so excuse that.
All right, so I've already put 1.25 cups of water in the bread maker pan here. And then next I'm going to add, so I don't measure it. I know people are always saying that it has to be exact measurements and stuff, but I've never had a problem. So I don't know. All I do is next I add honey, and I do like 3 or 4 swirls around like this. And that's it. That's how I measure it. A little sweeter, I do 4. So I just did 4 for a little sweeter. Next I do oil. And same thing, I usually have it in a small bottle. And I just do 2 or 3 around. But right now I'm just going to dump a bit in. There you go. And I'll link the recipe down below so that you can just follow it there. I've done that, and now I'm going to add my salt. So I'll measure it just for fun, but again, I don't normally measure it. And it wants a teaspoon of salt. Wasn't even very good measuring. So you put a teaspoon of salt there, and that's it for that. And you just leave it, and now you're gonna add your flour. So I add just whole wheat, and I add 3 cups. So next I add wheat gluten, and they say this is optional, but I don't think it is when you're baking whole wheat bread. I've never had really much success until I started adding wheat gluten. So I just put this around the outside, not to get it in the middle, because that's where I'm gonna put the yeast, and I don't want anything touching the yeast. Like that. So that was 1 tablespoon, by the way, of wheat gluten. Sorry for the wobblies there. And then I'm going to add a little less than 1 teaspoon of yeast. So first I make a little well in the center there. I just use this bread machine yeast, and I just put it in the little well there. So you're going to put it in the machine just like this. I do it at the whole wheat setting and always on light crust. And it doesn't actually make a light crust, I find. It makes a perfect normal crust. If you do it normal, it burns it. So yeah, and then I cook it. It takes about 4 hours, and I'll show you at the end what it looks like.
Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I hope you've learned something from this bread making video. Let me know what you make from scratch below, or what you'd like to see some recipes for. I'm working on right now tortillas and pancakes. Those are my upcoming from scratch videos that I'm going to show you the price breakdowns and my recipes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.